Good morning to everybody.
Good morning to everybody.
Yes. We are going to begin, and I'm thrilled that I can welcome everybody to the continuation of our project of university debates. We are joined here in Banska Bystrica by the teams from 7 universities from 5 countries to continue debating a project which is implemented jointly by Slovak organization MESA 10 and our Serbian partner Center for Euro-Atlantic Studies in Belgrade. We are very grateful to the hosts of today's debate, to the Faculty of Political Sciences and International Relations of Matej Bel University in Banska Bystrica. And I'm very glad that today we are joined here at the faculty together with the teams and the students, also by the Dean of the faculty, whom I'll introduce in a couple of minutes. But before I do so, please let me welcome the teams who have traveled today to Banska Bystrica. First, to my left, you see the team of University of Belgrade. Guys, would you please just wave to the camera? Then we have the students from the Academy of Economic Studies of Moldova, from Chisinau, Moldova. Welcome. In the middle of the room, we have the students from the International University of Sarajevo, from Bosnia and Herzegovina. Welcome. In the right corner, we have the students from the University of Montenegro in Podgorica. Next to them is the University of Novi Sad from Serbia. The very farthest to the right is the team of Comenius University from Bratislava, Slovakia. And last but not the least, the very first team, the domestic team from the University of Matej Bel in Banska Bystrica. As I have told you, we are very honored that we are joined by the Dean of the Faculty of Political Sciences and International Relations of Matej Bel University, Docent Kovačić, who has joined us, and I'd like to ask him to take the floor to welcome the students. Mr. Dean.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad that as a Dean of the Faculty of Political Sciences and International Affairs, University of Matej Bel in Banska Bystrica, can welcome you here in our faculty. I would like to firstly thank to MESA 10 for organizing together with a partner this unique event, and I hope that you are going to have a very pleasant day, very good debates, and I believe that you are going to feel here in Banska Bystrica at our faculty very well, and I hope that you will continue in this activity in the future as well. I'm really happy that we got here a lot of young fellows from the universities that our faculty got mutual cooperation. I'm very glad to have our partners from Belgrade. We as a faculty, we got right now, I can say, long-lasting traditional cooperation with this university, especially the Faculty of Political Sciences and the Faculty of Security. As well, I'm very glad that we had here the partners from Sarajevo, because we already launched cooperation as well with your faculty. Very warmly, I would like to welcome our friend from Podgorica. 2 months ago, I visited this university, and I'm glad that our faculty got mutual cooperation, especially with your Faculty of Political Sciences. Traditional partner from Novi Sad, we as a faculty, we got a double degree program with I would like to welcome as well our partners from the Slovak University, and I'm very glad that my students are going to be here. So I'm not going to continue very long. Let's me once again to all of you welcome here in Banska Bystrica. Wish you a good talks, and I'm, as I said, looking forward to welcome you in Banska Bystrica anytime in the future.
Thank you very much, Dean Kovacic, for your kind words. Just to remind the students on the teams, we will have 3 questions to answer. I will call the students to answer these questions. Whoever answers the first question will be determined by a lot. We have the names of the teams here on the table. I will choose from the lot who answers the first question. Then we will follow up with the question from the audiences. And for these answers, the students actually themselves, the teams, can choose whoever answers the follow-up questions. We have 3 minutes to answer the first question and 2 minutes to answer the follow-up question. I'll be the guardian of time, and I'll be cutting the time as an X. So with that, we would like to proceed with the first question. And I'd like to call to the podium the students from ASEM and the students from Novi Sad, and I'll determine who is that. From Novi Sad, it's Mia Marash. And from ASEM, Ekaterina Tsabat. Would you join me, guys? Would you please come to this place? Thank you. The most important political event of this year were the elections in the United States of America. And after the election of Donald Trump, Chancellor Merkel of Germany has issued a statement, and I'll quote, Germany and America are bound by values, democracy, freedom, as well as the respect for the rule of law and the dignity of human beings, independent of their origin, skin color, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or political position. On the basis of these values, I offer close cooperation to the future President of the United States, Donald Trump. Partnership with the United States is and will remain a keystone of German foreign policy, so that we can tackle the great challenges of our time. End of quote. And now comes the question. In your opinion, and I will not repeat the question for other students, the teams will answer the same question. In your opinion, what does the statement mean? Can we expect more or less cooperation between Europe and the United States in the following year? First, Asem, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
Yes. First of all, I want to say that a lot of countries were shocked about Americans' decision to vote for Donald Trump, a businessman who hadn't a political past, but only a business, to be the president of the USA. She actually will govern with the Congress fully under Republican control. European countries reacted different. I want to underline that there are different opinions regarding this subject. So the UK representative Theresa May claimed that we are and will have a good relationship and a strong relationship with USA, and we will be partners on trade, security, and defense. Also, she claimed that she is open to work and to collaborate with Donald Trump. On the other hand, France said that France showed a little enthusiasm because it openly endorsed Clinton in these elections. About Germany, I can say that on the other hand, they are open to work with USA, but on the contrary, they have some disagreements with political views of Donald Trump. Also, Ursula said that the results were a huge shock for them, and she thinks that Donald Trump understands that this election and the voters were against Washington. Sweden's former prime minister said that 2016 were a year of a double disaster in the West. Donald Trump said in his victory speech that he is open to collaborate with the EU countries, and it will work for Americans' goodwill. But on the other hand, he will take into account every nation. The collaboration between EU and USA doesn't depend mostly on Trump's position. He is open to collaborate with EU countries, but anyway, I think that this European regards about his victory will have different effect on it. Also, yes, the expectation about Clinton's winery were not a good result for every EU countries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if we're going to talk about relationship between Europe and USA, as the Chancellor Merkel said, these two sides have many common values and concerns. So there is a reason why this relationship very often called the transatlantic partnership. We can say that those common values, shared goals, and overlapping interests are the base of that partnership. And many theorists through the years agreed that neither USA or Europe can accomplish working alone as much they can accomplish when they are working together. So there are many social topics on which we can see their connection, but let's take economy, for example. So the United States and the European Union have the largest trade and investment relationship in the world. The relationship generates approximately $5 trillion annually in total commercial sales and provides up to 15 million jobs in the Europe and the United States. USA and European companies are also the biggest investors in each other's market. And what's common for these two, so this transatlantic economy relationship is also the world's most influential in terms of shaping standards and regulation. But we need to consider that the USA has a new president now with some new plans and new goals. During his campaign and in his victory speech, he promised to focus on economic growth, saying that his goal is USA with the strongest economy anywhere in the world. But he also announced that he would withdraw the USA from transatlantic trade and investment partnership because he instead preferred to conclude individual bilateral agreements because, as he said, he's against free market idea. We could also see that Republican billionaire is very critical of the UA and even predicted its failure in the wake of the historic Brexit vote. And in one interview for Times, he said, "I think the EU is going to break up. The people are fed up, whether it's here or in other countries. You watch and other countries will follow." So in my opinion, he underestimated the power of European Union, but everything points to the fact that a relationship between USA and EU is going to continue, but neither will be close as it was. It can only be colder.
Thank you very much. You may return to your seats, and please, the two teams send us people who will be answering follow-up questions. Chisinau? One brave soul. Thank you. Do we have the questions for the students? Anybody who wants to ask a question? Yes, here we have a question in Banska Bystrica.
Yes. Banska. Hello?
Okay, so hello, my name is Claudia, and my question to you is, okay. Może być? Tam sobie dostaję z mikrofonem. Okay, so do you think that this speech, or no, this speech, which was delivered by the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, is going to somehow influence the upcoming elections in the countries of Europe, for example, in Germany? Thank you.
Which speech did you have in mind? Yesterday's speech?
This speech where she supported the Trump and also that foreign policy they share and so on.
Question is clear? You did. Yes, yes. Implications of what she said about the German elections.
Well, yes, no, I said. Well, in my opinion, this congratulation is more of a warning for US President-elect Trump because of his tough statements in the presidential campaign. We all know that Germany experienced that kind of strong rhetoric and let it provide World War II in the past, and they know they have to fight it and prevent it. So I think that, yes, this is kind of a warning for the German elections too, that they have to think about the future and how world will see them if they elect someone that's far right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the brevity of your answer.
I really don't think that the election that came from US will have something to do for Germany. Angela Merkel said her opinion and her position about US victory of Trump, but she didn't say everything about the country. Because, for example, Ursula and Angela Merkel, they say different things about his winning. So I don't think that this Trump winning has a direct thing with the Germany elections.
Thank you. That was quick. There was one more question or two more questions.
Yes, thank you. My name is Alan, and I would like to ask you how you think the fact that most of the European countries do not pay 2% of their GDP into NATO, and Mr. Trump impacted this fact as really compelling. He was furious about it. How do you think this fact will matter in the future EU and US relations? Thank you.
Was it clear? No. 2% requirement for defense.
What? Can you repeat one more time? I think that power that have Trump in Europe, and not only in Europe, we don't have to forget that US is one of the most powerful country. It's not all about NATO and Europe, but they can, if they stop to collaborate with European Union and they will put their in interest firstly, like Europe will have a lot to lose on that. And the GDP and everything will have a lot to lose in Europe. Even if it's another country, another continent, they have a big influence here.
Well, at his last visit to Europe, Barack Obama, living president of the United States, told that Europe has to give Trump a chance. So I think Trump is just one small part of the world politics. And if the world and NATO and the United States and the Europe can't neutralize one man's rhetorics, then we have a great problem.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I know that there are more questions here in Banska Bystrica, but I want to ask other audiences, do you have a question for these two teams? Anybody?
Yes, Novi Sad, of course.
Go ahead, Novi Sad.
How do you comment the Trump opinion that he will build a wall in border with Mexico and his rhetoric about refugees? He didn't want refugees in USA.
Thanks.
Novi Sad?
Okay. Should I turn myself?
There's the camera.
Oh, all right. Well, Trump is a businessman, and he knew that he needs to say what people in America want to hear. So I don't think he will be so harsh now when he's president, really.
About the wall of Mexican, Trump want to build this wall just for a warning, because he knows that the Mexican will build under the wall something to go to US. It's just the thing that he warned that no illegals more. He's not about like migration. He's not against the migration to US. If it's legal one, but if it's illegal, he wants his people, how to say, who live and who was born in US to have a beautiful future in their country. About the what's the second part? Migrants. So, like I say, the migrants is not a problem from US, and he even didn't tell, like, his wife is a migrant. Don't have to forget about that. He's not against the migrants, he's against the illegal migrants.
Thank you very much. I know that there are more questions here. Don't forget that we will have other teams answering the same question, so you will have an opportunity to ask them the question. I'd like to thank the teams of Novi Sad and Asem from Chisinau for their responses, and I'd like to ask the audience here in Banska Bystrica to give us an indication. Now, let's first give us an indication on the team of from Chisinau. Do you share the arguments that were presented by the team? Show a green flag. If not, show a red flag. Okay, it's more green than red. Thank you very much. Now we come with the same question about the team from Novi Sad. Do you share their arguments or do you not share? Show your colors. Show your feathers. Some reds, but mostly green. All right? Thank you very much. Both teams are getting 1 point for answering these questions. Please, we are still debating here. I'd like to call to the podium 3 more teams. I'd like to call the team from Belgrade, from Bratislava, and from Sarajevo. From Sarajevo, it's going to be Berina Porča. From Bratislava, Amer Ovajda. And from Belgrade, Aleksa Petković. Please, if you have anything urgent to say, come to the podium to say it. We are continuing with debate, and Belgrade has the honor of answering the question in the first round. Oh, sorry.
Can I start? Yeah. So, first of all, I think that Chancellor Merkel's statement is more of a reassuring Trump that they are going to continue their relationship with the USA, because most of the members of her cabinet had really strong remarks about him when he was elected, because it was a bit of shock to them, and because of his campaign was against the principles of emphasized. And I think that's also the second thing that she wanted to say, that they are going to continue to work with USA, but they have some principles, and therefore there's going to be some consequences if Trump doesn't follow those principles. But of the question, if that TTIP is going to okay. So I believe that TTIP is going to die, because Trump was really against it, and also in Europe there was a lot of people who were against it. So, but I don't believe that economic relationship is going to stall. I think it's going to further on, because Trump said that he's going to work now more on the bilateral agreements, and I believe in the future we are going to see, after some short decline, we're going to see in the long run the rise of that. But on the second point of military budget, I think that Trump is going to emphasize more on 2% for defense, and Germany now has only 1.15% of GDP, and I think we are going to see a rise in that percentage, because Germany needs an ally in the USA, because they are frightened of the Russian threat. And also on the Russian sanctions, I believe that Trump is going to leave Germany on that question, and when the EU is left alone in the question of sanctions against Russia, I believe that EU is going to have to find some agreement with the Russians on that question. So overall, the relationship are going to stay strong, but are going to have to change in some areas.
Thank you. Now, Bratislava.
Thank you. I would like to react to some of the points raised by my colleague here. But firstly, what we have to realize is that Mr. Trump is not a career politician. Hence, most of the policy will be done by his chief of staff, who is Priebus, who is the former leader of the GOP, and by the nominees for the other cabinet members, such as Mitt Romney as being the Secretary of State. These will be the people who will be guiding him through the transition into the position of a president. As for the collaboration between the EU and America, yes, I think it will be strong, but it will divert from what people are used to, because former President Obama was a facilitator of cooperation. As for Mr. Trump, he has some policies or some opinions that are not strongly shared by his partners in the EU. I think that Mrs. Merkel was just trying to congratulate him, but while diplomatically warning him that there may be consequences to his actions. Hence, he has to be careful. And most of the other people, or other presidents and other premier politicians in the EU, will try to emulate the example of Mrs. Merkel. As for the cooperation with Russia, as my colleague here stated, I think it will take a different turn, because the relationship was a bit colder during Mr. Obama's reign, but as Mr. Trump has been quite vocal about warming up to the Kremlin, about warming up to cooperating with Mr. Putin, I think the relationship within the EU and the EU cooperating with America will have to change. What I don't understand is Mr. Trump's opposition to the free market, as he's foremost a businessman, not a politician. As for his talks about NATO, the TTIP, and everything else, although he has been quite vocal during his campaign, we have seen during his victory speech that he's open to working with everyone of every color, of every creed, of every religion. That has been a 180-degree turn to his position that he had during his campaign. And considering the thing about migrants, he is open to legal migrants, but he's opposing migrants of a certain creed, and that is Muslims. So I think there will be quite a few negotiations about that position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, Sarajevo.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to emphasize how important it is for us to focus on the key values here. The values are the democracy, the freedom, and the respect, and the respect of the rule of law. Everything is based on these values. If these values are not preserved by US, this will endanger the cooperation between the US and Germany. So this basically depends on Trump's behavior, and I think many of us are not very certain of what will happen. The next important thing which we need to mention is the refugee issue. While Germany is the country that received the most refugees, US, on the other hand, with the Trump's victory, is known for his rhetoric that fosters xenophobia and Islamophobia. Another important thing that we need to consider is the NATO issue. According to the Article 5, and I'm paraphrasing, attack against one is attack against all of us. So this means that Trump now does not want to defend the countries which have not contributed the 2% of GDP to the NATO. He does not want to interfere unless these conditions are satisfied. Currently, the states which have contributed 2% of their GDP are Greece, Turkey, and UK. Another important thing are the improved US and Russia relations. The relations between US and Russia have not been so warm, so to say, during the Obama administration, but now they are improving. This might come off as a problem because Germany was the country which actually initiated the sanctions against Russia. And now we have the cooperation between US and Russia, where Putin and Trump agreed that they will not interfere in each other's affairs. Also, it is important to mention that Trump has the non-interventionist policy, and that he has, in terms of economy, he has the protectionist policy. And he does not want to interfere no longer in the Europe unless there is a need for it and unless the member states of NATO satisfy the conditions. So this might mean that Europe should maybe unite even more and rely on itself instead of the US as a major actor in the world arena. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may retire to your seats, and I would ask your colleagues from your teams to come to the podium to join us for the follow-up questions. Wonderful. I know we are going to give first place to other universities, and then we'll come back to Banska Bystrica. I know that you have a lot of questions. Don't worry about it. Anybody outside who wants to ask a question? Just say it loud. Bratislava has a question. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Good. Or yeah. Well, my question is whether you think.
Would you kindly introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. My name is Matej Julik, and I'm a PhD student from Comedians in Bratislava. And my question, basically, to all the people in debating is whether you think that we are talking about the 8-year commitment when it comes to President Trump, or you think that whatever we are dealing with might be only the issue of 1 term. Thanks.
Do you understand the question? 1 term or 2 terms? Yes. Who wants to be the bravest?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Janeta Begic. So in my view, I think that it all depends on the Trump's foreign policies that he will pursue in the next 4 years. So now with his rhetoric, that's really xenophobic, that's Islamophobic, and also it's very protectionist and isolationist and also non-interventionist to other countries, we might actually face very great structural changes in the world today. We might even think of the possibility of end of the West as it was before, where we had European Union and the United States on one side and maybe Russia and the rest of the countries that are supporting it on the other side. So it all depends. I think, in my view, the crucial relationships now are going to be with United States and Russia. How will that evolve? And also all the wars that they are dealing in the Middle East. We're talking here about Syria. We're talking about how actually Vladimir Putin, Russian President Vladimir Putin, is looking at this situation, and also Trump, who is saying that we are willing to fight ISIS directly and not Assad regime. So we have some kind of controversies here. Who is on whose side and who is on what, but I think it's quite unpredictable and uncertain what will happen. But it's interesting to me how actually American mentality has been changing, that they were actually fed up with this making up for others, security, giving money for other people. So we will see in the next few years. One must actually be clear that Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote. It just didn't win the electoral college vote. So it actually I see it as a 4-year term.
Thank you, that's clear. Belgrade?
I can go next, yeah. Well, in my own opinion, my personal opinion, I don't think that Trump's second term will depend on his foreign policy. His rhetoric was mostly oriented on the domestic policies, on creating jobs, on getting American factories back to the United States, and migrants stealing their jobs, taking their jobs, and stuff like that. And as much as his victory was a surprise, I think that we'll have to wait 4 years to see whether his second term will be a surprise as well. That's it.
Thank you. Bratislava?
Thank you. I would like to agree with both of my colleagues mentioning the fact that it relies both on foreign policy and the situation back at home in the United States. Given the fact that one of the main reasons why Trump was victorious in this particular election was the fact that he used very populist policies and reached out to the rural areas and managed to win the college electoral vote, was the fact we have to actually focus on this populist aspect of it all, whether this populism that has also been kind of reaching out to Europe, whether it will actually continuously grow, and whether this right-wing policy making or this wave of far-right populism will have a further growth. I would say that it might be a 4-year term if we will see Trump failing to deliver his promises, failing to deliver on the sign of foreign policy, also disappointing Russia if relationships are going to improve, or maybe there will be also a possibility for his second term if we can see populism rising and growing, and if he actually manages to deliver on some of his promises back at home. Obviously, the lack of information and desperation led to a lot of disappointed voters, not from just Obama's term, but generally from the previous elections. So we can see that this there is a main focus on the local elements that will influence the length of the terms. But I would also say that there's also a certain reliance on foreign policy and foreign elements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take one more question from other universities. Is there a question in the audiences? Anybody keen to ask a question? If that's not the case, we have had many hands here in Banska Bystrica.
As we know, I am Igor Sobol, an international student in Banska Bystrica. As we know, the founding fathers in the USA set up such institute, which is called the Electoral College, which was set up to prevent voting a president populist or extremist by an uneducated population in the USA at that time. So let's just imagine that the Electoral College, the most undemocratic institute in the USA, would not vote for Trump, but will vote for Clinton on the 19th of December. How will react the European Union on such doings? Thank you.
Any question? Who wants to pick up the first?
So the question is, how will the EU react if the Electoral College decides to pick Hillary Clinton over Trump? Well, it's quite an interesting question, and let's imagine it will happen, but as history teaches us, it almost never happened. I think it's less than 40 people in the history of the United States actually voted contrary to the populace vote on the Electoral College. How will the EU react? Well, respecting the principle not to intervene in other countries' policies, I think that officially they will say that it is the internal thing of the American democracy, and the Electoral College is set up by American people for the American people, and that's how will they react on the official level. But I think that many European leaders that are now in power, for example, Chancellor Merkel, will be happy to see Hillary Clinton over Trump, as said previously stated by herself. And we yet have to see whether the elections in Germany and France in 2017 will give us some right-wing or some center-ring leaders and their reactions as well. So if I may just briefly say what I wanted to say, I think that on official level, they will state that it is an internal thing of the United States, but secretly, they will be happy to see somebody else instead of Trump.
I would agree with my Belgrade colleague that this is quite impossible to happen, but we thought that the Trump's victory will be impossible, so we're not really sure about anything that's going on in the United States and the rest of the world right now. But I think that it happened only twice in the history that they voted differently, and it would be actually very costly to the members of the Electoral College. So I'm not sure about that point, but if it happened, I think that European Union would be very delighted. Some of the countries and probably the leaders that are currently leading the major powers in the European Union, especially, for example, we have Chancellor Merkel that has a close relationship with Hillary Clinton, and we also have Hillary Clinton coming from this establishment that is actually propagating the values that European Union has been based on. Those are democracy, protection of human rights, gender equality. Those all are issues that Hillary Clinton is propagating and that the current leaders of the major powers are agreeing with. But as my colleague already mentioned, we are not sure what's going to happen, what is going to happen in the future elections in countries such as France, Germany, even Poland, Hungary, where we have this rise of the populist right-wing parties, and this might actually switch all direction to some other kind. But yeah, that's my opinion.
I would just like to agree with both of the points raised by my colleagues. And I would like to also add another point to this particular question, that considering that this might happen, this would actually lead to kind of like damaging the reputation of the United States. You know, it kind of leads to a little bit of like political turmoil, showing that there isn't a lot of stability when it comes to the electoral situation. So I would say that definitely the EU leaders may be delighted, but perhaps USA might lose some sort of respect, let's say, because their reputation is sort of being damaged as a relatively stabilized democratic country. So I would agree that, yes, definitely Chancellor Merkel would be delighted. The EU will show support that a politician is going to become the president of the United States. However, I would say that the United States might lose some points of respect once this sort of thing goes down, because it goes to show that there's a lot of inner political instability within the United States, and it goes to show that the United States of America is kind of struggling to shape and form their identity at the moment, and maybe show some voice in unison, or maybe show some voice in opposition. It's rather difficult to say, but I would say that this is one of the possible outcomes as well.
Thank you. We'll take one more question here from Banska Bystrica.
I want to hello, I'm Miriam Chakurdova. I want to ask you about opinion what Donald Trump said that he wants to us to open a gun against refugees, against terrorist attacks. And what do you think about he will, in that kind of way, he will divide the European Union? Because how we know in America it's illegal to open a gun. So what do you think about?
Thank you. Who wants to pick up the first? Bratislava.
So if I understood this correctly, you are talking about arms ownership in Europe and the fact that Donald Trump kind of promoted that? Okay. Well, as we already talked about, certain values of democracy, protection of human rights, the lack of discrimination against nationality, religion, sex, and various other elements that are the basis of the European Union. I would say that this is rather impossible to just simply by promoting the idea that arms ownership is a good idea, especially against refugees and possible extremist Islamic terrorists entering the borders of the EU. I don't think that simply by promoting it that this is going to in any way affect the situation. However, as I stated earlier in my other answers, the rise of populism and far-right parties in Europe has really shown that there can be massive changes slowly developing, and that maybe those far-right parties that are expressing also very like anti-refugee sentiments, they might be encouraging the same as Donald Trump would. However, as I said, in the EU, it's rather difficult to make such a great change in such a short time. And I would also say that even if there is any sort of like encouragement or promotion of such an idea, it would take a very long time.
I think that European mentality is quite different than the American mentality. They take the owning guns quite personally, and they quite favor that amendment and the law that gives them that opportunity. But I don't think that the Trump's victory or Trump's policies will have almost any influence on European continent as such to bear arms. As my colleague mentioned, there might be some influence from the right-wing parties that are against refugees, calling for defending white Europe or something like that. But I think that Europe is quite safe and in good hands for now.
I agree with both of my colleagues, but in my personal view, I don't think that this Trump's promoting of gun ownership and bearing arms will have actually any influence in the European policies in the near future. Maybe if we're thinking about next 20 years, maybe all the European structure will change. Maybe European Union will not be exist as such as it's existing right now. But I think that the focus in the European Union of these right-wing populist parties is more on this anti-refugees. We have, for example, Hungary, Poland. We have also some parties in France. Of course, UK, but now with this Brexit, which is still debatable, we are not talking about UK, but we have them openly criticizing this refugee influxes to European Union and turning their backs to Germany for actually having this pro-immigrant approach to everything. But I don't think that this will have any actually influence on this bearing arms in the European Union, because I feel like we are a long way to that point, because there's another ways in which you can deal with the issues such as refugees, because they're promoting these refugee quotas and other protectionist policies that are not related to bearing arms. And I'm not really sure how much talk is going on about that at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that there are there are more questions, please save them for the third and final round, final part of this round. Now I'd like the audience here in Banska Bystrica to tell us what they think about the arguments. First we go judging Belgrade. Green or red? There is one hesitant red and there is all green. Then we go to vote on Sarajevo's arguments. 1, 2, 3, 3 reds, all green. Wonderful. And Bratislava is the last one. I see 2 reds and a sea of green flags. So thank you very much. This concludes the second part of our first round. And now I'd like to call to the podium the students from Podgorica and from Banska Bystrica. From Banska Bystrica, it's going to be Chelsea Janet Kubek.
No.
And from Podgorica, Sanja Jaredic. We'll give the floor to Podgorica. Go ahead. 2 minutes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sanja Jaredic, and I'm going to answer the question. Well, Angela Merkel, in her statement, noted that it is important to make a strong relationship between Europe or Germany and United States of America. Even Donald Trump won the elections, and he has in some kind of radical statements about further collaboration between America and Europe. In my opinion, they will continue to collaborate because it is important to make strong bonds and strong links between themselves, even if we know that which is very important, European Union and America signed a treatment about trade, transatlantic treatments, which give a chance to make free trade and to collaborate in further years. But Donald Trump makes some radical statements in order to show his power as a leader. But if we know that he has no much more political experience, and he can show his power on a different way, showing us radical statements and representing some kind of different politics which came from America. But also Germany showed goodwill to maintain the good relationships with United States of America, and Donald Trump in some kind can reduce his maybe financial support to NATO, giving as a member of this alliance, but they cannot stop maintain their collaboration in further, because it is really important to bring peace and prosperity in those countries in further for years. Thank you.
Good morning to everybody. My name is Chelsea Janet Kubek, and I would like to answer the question. According to this statement, I think that we can expect more cooperation between the Germany or the European Union and the United States, because I see the reason mainly in the post-war period, when the United States helped solve Germany the financial problems, and we can see nowadays that Germany represents the largest economy in Europe, so better relation between Germany and the United States will not depend on financial aid, but I think it is impossible to imagine no cooperation between them. The main reason for more cooperation is, from my opinion, the security. So the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is going to play a very important role in this case. And we can say that after British exit, the European Union lost a very important militarily and a powerful member. So more cooperation for Europe is necessary. And after the US election with unexpected result, Germany should find a way how to establish a new cooperation between the European Union and the United States. And for European Union is also very important negotiating trade and investment deal with the United States. So we can say that the transatlantic trade and investment partnership is a good reason for stronger cooperation between European Union and the United States. And to sum up, we can say that after Brexit, will European Union need a political and military partner, and the best solution is to create a stronger partnership with the United States. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you both for your responses. Now I'm calling on to our partner universities for any questions from the audiences. Ladies, you may be seated, and please, your teams send us new students here to the podium. Banska Bystrica? Yes. Do we have a question somewhere? Anybody in the audience is wanting wants to ask a question?
There's a question in Novi Sad.
Go ahead, Novi Sad.
No, we don't have a question, so I don't know what's going on.
We thought that you have a question. Okay, actually, there were a lot of questions here in Banska Bystrica. Let's go from here, and I'll take it anywhere.
My name is Tatiana Mandatova, and I would like to know your opinion about about the topic of migration, because we know the number of attacks and number of them is still rising, and now we are talking about cooperation with America and Germany, and also with America with Europe. So, what do you think? Will America will help Europe if the migration will still rising, and or if the American will go back to political of isolation? What do you think about that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Who wants to be the brave one? All right.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for the question. Basically, what you're asking is whether the United States will go back to their policy of isolation, which they held, a century ago, and that's the main point here. I don't think that it's possible anymore in current world. Maybe it was possible before the World War I, but nowadays, absolutely not. And I don't think that President-elect Trump will decide for such policy. We've seen, and I think many of my colleagues mentioned it today already, that he's not very committed, let's say, to his promises on many policies. Now, to be honest, he didn't really mention foreign policy all that much in his basically in the primaries and the whole process of election. But from his other stance, it's on from everything from economy to immigration, basically. We can assume that he's basically he just made a stance just because he didn't really had any plan, and he just needed voters. So from that, I think we can assume that he's not going to make drastic changes in America's policy, which was set by current President Obama on immigration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. We are aware of that Trump had said that America should be isolated from problems in Europe, and that the Europe should solve the problems on their own. For example, immigration problems. I think that Trump can't do what he said that he will do, because he have a group of people behind him, and that group of people must agree with his statements, and he can't do anything if they don't give permission to him. In this case, and also in other problems in Europe, America can't leave Europe and can't turn off of the problems in Europe, because in that case she will leave free space for Russia influence, and Russia will take that chance, I'm sure, and they will spread their influence in Europe. So that would be a big problem for America, because Europe is just radically very important for America, also for Russia. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. One more question here.
Yes, thank you. I have a question about migration, but not to USA, but from USA. Many citizens of United States threaten with migration to Canada after election of Donald Trump. I want to ask you if this can be a real scenario, or if is this just a temporal disagreement with the election? Thank you.
So you're asking whether people from the United States will come to Europe, right? Is that it? Okay, okay. So whether they will leave, basically. Okay. No, I don't think so. To be honest, I always took it as a joke, not a real problem. Although I think after the election, the website for Canadian Immigration Office just basically fall apart. But yeah, I always took it as a joke, not a real possibility, and definitely not in such a large numbers that it would affect anybody. And even if it were a real problem, I don't think it would affect us in any capacity, because why wouldn't American people, and again, I'm not saying they would, but if they decided to leave the United States, why wouldn't they go to Canada or New Zealand or Australia or Britain, for that matter, anywhere where they at least can speak the language? So I wouldn't really concern myself with that possibility. Thank you.
I agree with my colleague. I don't think that that was a serious statement, because honestly, I don't know what they will do in Europe. So I think that they wouldn't leave America.
Thank you very much. I know you have questions, but we still have 2 more rounds to go. We need to move swiftly, so I'll cut the questions. I'll ask you to vote on the responses from Banska Bystrica and from Podgorica. We will begin with Banska Bystrica. There is no sign of favoritism here. It's all green, thank you. Now Podgorica. It's almost the same. Thank you very much. This concludes our first round, and now we are coming to the second question. We still have one more after the second question. I'd like to call to the podium the students from Bratislava and Podgorica. From Bratislava, it's going to be Ivana Petrenčáková. And from Podgorica, it's going to be Tomka Živković. Okay, wonderful. We come to the second question, and that has to do with the fact that in Europe we are witnessing an increased number of electoral candidates and even electoral winners who are claiming to be pro-Russian and campaigning as pro-Russians. Do you believe that this will hinder the cooperation of these countries with the European Union? Or do you believe, on the other hand, that these countries and their institutions are much stronger to strengthen cooperation with the European Union, and their interest to cooperate with the European Union will prevail? We begin with the host team from Podgorica.
Hello to everyone. My name is Tomka Živković, and in my opinion, I think that interests of this country, particularly economic interests, will be much more important for these countries than that will be their relation with Russia and the impact of Russia on their presidents. Even though they will continue to have good relations with Russia, they will continue with their integration process because that is their much more important national interest. We can say that from history, Putin's method was to make some buffer zones on Balkan and East Europe and Western Balkan, and to expand that buffer zones and to make some geopolitical zones for Russian interests, but and nowadays we know that Russia, for example, tries to be involved in our domestic policy. For example, if some of you know, on our election day, which was in October 16, there was some try to make attack, to make a coup. And Montenegro authorities said that that was planned from Kremlin, and because of that, 20 persons was arrested, and it's Bratislav Dikic was a former leader of the Serbian army, and it was we have some in our country. There was some suspicion that he was a leader of that group. And that was a big problem because it is believed that all that was nonsense in order to elect our government party. So I can say that also we have examples in Bulgaria and Moldova. There was also increasing number of pro-Russian presidents, but also Moldova and Bulgaria will continue to cope with European countries and to continue their process in NATO and EU.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Ivana Petrenčáková, and I will be Okay, so the current socio-political situation in Europe in general led to the rise of populism in Europe, which is closely tied to the pro-Russian feelings of some countries. But I shall start with the negative immediate reaction of the United Kingdom and Europe to the Brexit. So from this we can we can talk about even a little bit of a unification of the of the countries in the European Union, and also the triggering of the Article 50 might lead in this example. We can see that the world is once again polarized, and it's a little bit West versus Russia. But these pro-Russian views had been around Europe for some time. And at this time, I would like to distinguish member states and candidate states because these pro-Russian feelings are also in member states of the European Union, like Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Bulgaria, as you have mentioned. And they even question the sanctions in Russia, whether they are helping the cause. But since they're already in the European Union, they only get fair warning from the European Parliament. But on the other hand, the candidate states, with the carrot and sticks policy, European Union can apply negative conditionality. So for them, it is more important to decide on their views. Also, European Union still provides more benefits to these candidate countries than their pro-Russian feelings, because these pro-Russian views are not a threat, but it shows to the European Union that they are not willing to integrate into it, and they might even follow up with some precautions, like they might retract their support, the Euro funds, and this might hinder the further cooperation and their candidacy in the future. But as we know, even European Union maintains diplomatic relationships with Russia. So we think that for the candidate countries, it will hinder their progress into the European Union.
Thank you very much, ladies. You may return to your teams, and I'd like to ask the team from Bratislava and from Podgorica to send us students who will answer follow-up questions. Negotiation is, of course, very difficult, but we need some students to come here. First, with follow-up questions, we are calling onto our partner universities. Any questions about Russia and the European Union? Anybody wants to ask a question? If not,
Hi, my name is Michaela, and I would like to ask you, what do you think about new elected president in Moldavia? Do you think that he will have a pro-Russian or pro-European politics or political orientation?
right? President of Moldova, whether he will be pro-Russian or pro-European. The mic is on.
Thank you for the question. I really didn't deep in question of Moldova, but I think that the current president of Moldova will keep with, beside his pro-Russian president, will keep some integration process with Europe, because we know that Moldova began that road to EU integrations, and think that will not be stopped because the new president is pro-Russian.
Great, Bratislava.
I agree with my colleague. I think that although the new president is more pro-Russian, the benefits that the EU offers Moldova in the future further outweigh the benefits that may come from some kinds of bilateral contracts, bilateral agreements with Russia. As we can see, each country that has eventually acceded to the EU has reaped great benefits. They got freedom of movement and access to the single market of the EU. They have an influx of European funds that they can use to renovate historical buildings or upgrade their educational systems. That I think that the president will tread lightly and will try to be on an equal footing, but although leaning a bit more pro-Russian, he will also try to appease the European Parliament and the European politicians so they can speed up the procedure of ascending to the EU. Acceding, sorry.
Wonderful. One more question here. We have 2 more parts of this round to go. Don't worry.
Hello, my name is Oliver, and my question is, do you think that some countries of the European Union with pro-Russian claims could leave the Union in the future? Thank you.
That is a clear question. Who wants to be the first?
As we talk about leaving the EU, I think that is in near future it's not going to be, because the states that are in EU are already West orientation on that politics, but the countries that are on the road to EU have some inputs of Russian politics, because especially when we talk about Western Balkan, especially Montenegro and Serbia, the impact of culture, heritage, and historical relations with Russia. And in that case, Russia in somehow maybe provoke some instability, but that will not stop the EU integrations of Western Balkan to EU, because what EU gives to that countries are more on the other side what they have on the heritage with Russia.
If I understand correctly, you're asking the member states if they would leave the EU, right? Yes. Okay. I think what we have to consider is a broader spectrum, because it depends on the party that is in power. Now, that is all very hypothetical. If there would be a party that would get into power or would get the majority in the parliament, they could maybe enact a referendum. But it always depends on the people of the republic or the state. In which case, maybe for Slovakia, I would like to think that we are more pro-European Union, because the benefits that we've gotten since we joined have been quite great. Now, also, in the light of Brexit, with Article 50 still not being enacted because Britain is confused on the issue, the parliament is blocking it, and the government has, I think, not that much of an idea of what it's doing, and it's hurting Britain more than it's benefiting it. I think that the other EU countries, even though they may be pro-Russian, will look at that example and find out that even a country as strong as Britain can suffer through that decision. They will not be willing to go through with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the audience here in Banska Bystrica to give us red or green for Sarajevo. Oh, sorry. I mixed it up the second time. I made a mistake 2 times. My fault. Podgorica, Crna Gora. It's all green. Now Bratislava. It's almost all green. Thank you very much. Now we are going to the second part. We will have 3 teams now. We will have Novi Sad, Banska Bystrica, and Chisinau. So Banska Bystrica, it's gonna be Chisinau. It's gonna be Aleksandar Ratso, and Novi Sad, it's gonna be Dunja Funduk. Who wants to be the first one? Ladies, say you are the first one.
Okay.
Please, can we respect the speakers? Thank you very much.
Trump in Washington, Putin in Moscow, the rising power of the Alternative for Germany party, and the results of recent presidential elections in Moldova and Bulgaria. Countries and political powers have always sought out stable and strong allies which represent their ideas, and thus the orientation from the system, I mean European system, that cannot fully resolve the existing problems, immigration crisis and economic crisis, to the system that responds economic, ideological and political interests, is actually a normal phenomenon in our society. Another very vital issue is that there are some very interesting problems in European Union, and once we see that Russia has demonstrated us the capability to remain a stable regime despite the sanctions, and which trade is beneficial and cooperation with it is immense, we can say that countries of Europe can actually orientate towards Russia, and I think that it's a normal phenomenon. But it doesn't mean that the countries are going to hinder, these pro-Russian countries are going to hinder or even sever their relations with the European Union. I think that once if European countries do demonstrate the capability to overcome the difficulties they face or satisfy them with needs, then the readiness of these pro-Russian countries to cooperate back with the European Union will prevail. So to sum up, I think that this process won't deter the active cooperation of pro-Russian countries and European Union. And conversely, if the European Union, let's see, to overcome the difficulties they face, the readiness of pro-Russian countries to cooperate with them will prevail.
Thank you.
Thank you. The presidential elections in Austria happened the presidential elections in Austria happened a few days ago, and they're emblematic of a rising trend in European politics. Voters rejected mainstream parties in favor of first Green head chief of the state and nearly equal votes for a second place far-right candidate. Such anti-establishment and polarized politics are a result of decades of duopolitic power sharing and that now exploits Austrian voters. Version of this frustration is present in the whole Europe. Mainstream parties are losing their voters, and for both ends of political spectrum, new parties and new movements are giving fresh energy, and that's what democracy really is. We need to hear a large variety of opinions, and however, the radical populists reject both what European Union stands for, and their ideology is fundamentally incompatible with European standards, creating a dilemma how European Union should respond to the rise of this phenomena. But national democratic system looks strong enough to survive, except in countries where one party is able to dominate the whole state, such as Hungary. In the rest of the Europe, voters are still largely believe in liberal values, and constitutional check still functions. There is a room for non-populist forces to regroup and win the votes back, in my opinion, and they have to focus on governance rather than blame. However, the European organization could suffer the great damage from this populistic wave. The European integration is built on principles such as shared sovereignty, supranational authority, compromises between different interests, and mutual tolerance. The European Union values base is human dignity, freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. And to give up these principles would fatally weaken European Union credibility both at home and abroad.
Thank you.
Sorry. Support from Vladimir Putin is coming from Eastern Europe more and more. For example, like 1 week or 2 weeks ago, on 31 of October, 2 countries, Bulgaria and Moldova, in the same day elected a pro-Russian president. It was in Moldova Igor Dodon, who won with 52%, but it's still not decided that he will be the president, because we have still more judgments about the incompetence and about some failures that was in the elections. And in Bulgaria was Rumen Rader, a former Air Force general who openly opposes EU sanctions against Russia and swept the victory with almost 60%. On the same day as Igor Dodon with 52%. Igor Dodon claims that a good relationship with Russia, and a better one that was years ago, will be not a stop of collaboration with the European Union. But at the same time, if you will remember, like 4 years ago, when Moldova signed a trade agreement with the European Union, in the same days, like almost 2 or 3 days, Russia banned our production to export to their country, to Russia, that was exported many years, the same production. Rumen Radev told to reporters that the issue of sanctions that was against Russia from European Union is a commitment of the government, and he is against that, but still he also wants to collaborate with the European Union at the same level as with Russia. Both of them are undecided, because in one interview they say that they want to stop collaborating with European Union and to go back in history to make Russia, to be a part of Russia again, and a part of Euro is the ATIC agreement. And also, they both want to do history, but they want to sit on the 2 seats at the same time. This is Europe and Russia, that we know that it's impossible about the history that we have, Moldova had with Russia, and Moldova had with the European Union. Both countries could see now periods of political instability and potential shifts in geopolitical direction. And we don't have to forget that this is these 2 countries are post-Soviet one. And the decision that was made in these days, it's also about the history and about the crisis that 2 countries now they have. They want to go back in time that they have in Soviet Union. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may go back to your teams, and I'd like to ask new members from your teams to join us here at the podium. Banska, Bystrica, Novi Sad, and Chisinau. Wonderful. Turning to our partner universities abroad, anybody has a question? Nobody? Nobody. Môžu vás poprosiť, tam zozadu prídete sem a zoberiem ešte niekoho spredu. Poďte vy a vy pôjdete druhý, dobre? Sorry.
Hello, my name is Christian, and my question for you guys is, do you think that people perceive Putin as a bigger threat than radical Islam penetrating the Europe with thousands of migrants while no one knows who they are without passing the appropriate asylum procedures? The whole question.
Did you get the question? Would you kindly repeat it?
Okay. Do you think?
Can I have your attention, please?
Do you think that people perceive Putin as a bigger threat than radical Islam, penetrating the Europe with thousands of migrants, while no one knows who they are, without passing the appropriate asylum procedures?
Clear enough? Please.
Thank you. So, yeah, I think radical Islam is a big problem, but we cannot connect that with refugee crisis. We cannot say that people who come from Syria, that all of them are possible terrorists, and I think that public has that opinion in its mind. And also about Putin, I think that now we're facing the black and white situation, and I think that it's, are you with Trump or are you with Putin or against him? And I think that geopolitical situation is way more complicated now. So we are like in a place, like in a Cold War, and we can like agree with some of his attitudes, but it doesn't mean that Europe is doing everything well, because Europe is saying that they're having some democratic values, but also at the same time, Hungarian is rising the border, like they're having the razor fence border on fence on its wall, so it's not really democratic.
Please come closer to the audience. Don't be afraid of it. Just the line is too short.
So do you want to? Well, it's probably okay to have a difference of the opinions, and there is nothing tragic in this situation. That's why there are some opinions that should be taken into consideration. And speaking about the Moldovan situation, about pro-Russia situation, Birka Tapiola, who represents the EU mission in the Republic of Moldova, mentioned that almost 70% of the population is for the EU integration, and that's why the population should be clearly known with the benefits that the EU provides to the Moldova. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Banska Bystrica.
Okay, so for me, it's really difficult to answer this question because you want me to compare two things which don't have many things in common. At one side, there is a leader of the country, Putin, you know, the head of Russia, and on the other side, there is radical Islam. Okay, so the first thing is the situation with Russia, with these elections, pro-Russian leaders won the elections in Bulgaria and Moldova. I can see pro-Russian parties in Ukraine and Estonia as well, and Belarus surely oriented towards Russia. But the thing is that we have to understand that all these countries, it's like, what will they do? What will these newly elected candidates do? Will they change the geopolitical orientation of their countries and cut ties with EU or not? For me, the thing is that Russia is not a treat, okay? Because what these countries are doing is that they are trying to sit at two chairs at once, as she said, okay? And why? Because they can, okay? They are not forbidden to cooperate with Russia, nor to be friends with them. Okay, it's their choice, and as long as this cooperation, this attachment, okay, this is a big brother. This is also our big brother, Slavic, okay, nation, Slavic nation. So this attachment does not influence the cooperation with EU, not a treat. Okay, so for me, this is clear that Russia is not a treat. And then radical Islam, as she said, I absolutely agree with her. Not every person which is Muslim is a terrorist, okay? This is their religion, like Christian, okay? There were many, I don't know, wars caused by by the people who believed in Jesus Christ, okay? to solve this situation. So it doesn't matter that every person who is Muslim can be a terrorist. But generally compared, I think that the bigger threat is radical Muslims than Russia.
Thank you very much. Now we have the second question here.
As we are talking about pro-Russian election winners, I would like to underline one name, and it is Mr. François Fillon, who won a French presidential primary. There is also big probability that he will win France presidential elections. As we know, he would like to ease the tension between Russia and France, but also he has anti-Muslim policy. So my question is, who will come as a winner, Russia or Germany?
Okay, so I will start to answer this question. So first of all, the relation of France and Germany. This is a separate part of the question, okay? Because the relation of France and Germany, it's a long-lasting relation. I don't think that there will be some treat, okay? There was worse situation between Angela Merkel and François Hollande at the beginning. It looks like that. Oh my God, she didn't invite the newly elected president for an official meeting. And finally, this motor, I don't know if it's English word, motor, okay, engine, okay, engine of the European integration restarted, and it's functioning right now. So for me, the relation Germany and France, there is no treat, okay? If Fillon will win the election, it starts from the beginning, okay? They have to cooperate. They are the stone, they are the milestone of the European integration. And then the question about the anti-Muslim, what was it? If the Russia win, something like this, right? It's not a bet. My opinion is that it's not a bet. The attempt of the European countries to restore their relations with Russia. Okay, as I mentioned before, it's not bad. They can do it as long as it will not influence European cooperation. Okay, so thank you.
No, yes. As I said about our situation in Moldova, the first objective is to create a strategy or a plan which would determine the own path of certain countries in the collaboration with the EU. Also, the other argument is maybe to create trained specialists from different fields that could tell their opinion due to this subject. And the last argument that in the EU, this process of integration should be involved not only the government of the certain countries, but also the civic society that plays an important role in these situations. Thank you.
So when we talk about this topic, we can only think, we can express our opinion, but we saw on, for example, American elections that everyone was thinking that Hillary Clinton will win. And then on that night when Trump actually won, there were telling why analysts were explaining why he won, but day before they didn't know he's going to win. So the most important thing is to see what the leaders are going to do, because I would like to remind you in 2000 when Putin was elected to be a president, he was telling that he wants to cooperate with the European Union, that he is maybe even thinking about joining a NATO, and that he cannot imagine his country being excluded from all the economic trade and diplomatic trade. And then 16 years ago, all countries are sanctioning Russia and calling other countries to do that. So I think the base foundation is economic trade. So all the countries, with elections coming up in Germany and in France, I think that they will first think about their economic situation. So they will choose the one that's more good for them, it's better for them. But we can see an example in Serbia. We are declared as a pro-European government, and we're trying to be a part of European Union. But also we have leaders who are saying that we have long-time relations with Russia, and that we don't want to give that up. But I think it's more in emotional base with that Christian Orthodox relation. And then when it comes to the final election, we will choose European Union because of the economic trade.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the audience here in Banska Bystrica to give us an indication about sharing the arguments of the team. First, we go with Novi Sad. Novi Sad, you see it? Thank you very much. Secondly, we go with Thank you very much. And last but not least, Banska Bystrica. Oh, why am I not surprised? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies. I'd like to call Sarajevo and Belgrade to the podium. From Sarajevo, it's going to be Keri Blojo. And from Belgrade, Goran Sandic. Okay. But I'd like to get more students to come to the podium, so I'll get somebody else. Pavle Nedic. There seems to be quite support from Belgrade, so here we go. Why don't you answer the question first?
All right. Hello, I'm Pavle Nedic, and I think we first must tell that there is difference between countries that are already in the EU and that have a lot of stronger Russian influence in the last several months or years, and the countries that are trying to enter the EU and that also have the rise of Russian influence in them. In the EU, we first have Bulgaria, for example, which had elections a couple of weeks ago and where pro-Russian candidate was elected. But I think it's very important to emphasize that Mr. Radev won on this pro-Russian program that essentially wanted to bring Bulgaria closer to Russia, but he doesn't want to leave the EU. He isn't pro-Russian and strongly in a sense what he wants to leave the EU. Bulgaria is dependent on Russia, on the gas and on the trade, but it is EU member, it is NATO member, and I don't think that will bring very big changes to the relationship for Bulgaria with the EU. Also, we have in Hungary a couple of organizations that are pro-Russian and the government is tolerating them. And we have a couple of countries that are trying to enter the EU where we have bigger Russian influence. That could be, for example, Serbia, where Serbia is often perceived as a close ally of Russia and little Russians on the Balkans, but we have two main candidates which will fight for the place of the president in a couple of months, and they are both decidedly pro-European. It will be one candidate that will be chosen by the most powerful party, and the other one will be by opposition, which will probably unite. And the pro-Russian candidates will have a very, very little chance of winning, although the population is inclined to support Russia and to have favorable opinion on Russia. We also have Montenegro, where we had elections and where we had talks about coup d'etat that was organized by Russian agents, but although the Russian influence is big in opposition, I don't think the opposition has any chance of becoming the position in the following years, and that essentially all these countries that are on the EU path will remain on this path, and although they depend on Russia on trade and economy and on gas, they have a strong wish to enter the EU and to achieve the standards of EU regarding rule of law, fighting against corruption, freedom of the press, and so on, and that they will strongly remain on this path. Thank you.
Thank you, please.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I want to mention that before nowadays, in 1989, Western countries won the former Soviet Union, and from that time until 2010, something like that, European countries didn't pay attention that much on the Russia and Russian interest in Europe. So it caused this situation that we have nowadays. For the example, Russian economy started to rapidly grow up in 2005, and which means that their influence also started to spread to the neighbors countries who are the satellites. and we can pay attention. I mean, we paid attention on the countries in the Balkans, especially our country, Bosnia and Herzegovina, who is divided in two entities: Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republika Srpska. Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, they are side of the America and European Union, but the other side of Republika Srpska, they are under the influence of the Russia. So we can say that there is a direct connection between Banja Luka and the capital of Russia, Moscow. Many of them were thinking that it's going through the Belgrade, but it's not like that. We can mention the referendum that happened in Bosnia for the National Day of Republika Srpska, which has to be 9th January. And 3 days before that referendum, even if European Union and America decided that it is not that is unconstitutional. 3 days before that referendum, the president of Republika Srpska, Milorad Dodik, went to the Moscow and he had a meeting with Mr. Vladimir Putin. The other example about Russian influence in Balkans is Montenegro. That's the country who is also divided between two sides. One side wants to be a part of the NATO and EU. The other side doesn't want to be that. So in I think October 26th this year, they had some kind of a coup in Montenegro, but their ex-prime minister now, he is President Milo Đukanović. He success to stop it. In our opinion, European Union and America, they don't know what to do with those countries who are not the part of the European Union. Sometimes they are acting that they want to help, that they want to spread their influence and other factors. And the other side, Russia is using soft power, and I think that Russia is playing smarter than the European Union and America. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. You may return to your teams. I'd like to ask other members from your teams to join us from Belgrade and Sarajevo to answer follow-up questions. I know here we have questions. I know. Do we have any questions at the universities abroad?
There is a question from Belgrade.
Belgrade, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Greetings. We've been enjoying the debate so far, and we hope that it will come to a fruitful end. So my question is regarding the... Can you hear me correctly? Do you hear me? Okay. So my question is concerning the U.S. elections, more specifically the political system, the party system. We saw that the two dominant parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, failed to produce a candidate which would be acceptable to the general American public. That failure from the Democrats directly resulted in Trump's votes. So,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but is this a question about?
I'm coming to the question. Yeah, I just needed to make a statement before it. So
you are coming from a long distance to the question. Cut it, please.
In short, yes, thank you. In short, is there a general need in America to produce a third party led by the progressive socialist Democrats and maybe led by Bernie Sanders that will address problems of the general populace? Thank you.
Actually, we are terribly sorry, but this is a question which was discussed in the previous round, so we will not accept it. Do you have any other question which pertains to the subject that we are now discussing? If that is not the case, I'm going to turn to the audience here.
So, hello, my name is Nikola Holkova. And so, don't you think that all of this is happening because of what the UK has done? Maybe the people in the European Union think that if a state big as the UK done such a step of leaving the European Union, maybe being pro-Russian would be a better step for them and the Russians could help them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for a question. It's a good question. And I have to say that we based mainly on non-EU countries. So not on the countries that are going to leave or are not going to leave the EU, but the countries of the Western Balkans, Moldova, Belarus, maybe. So I think that this is a security issue. And I believe that Brexit will have much influence on certain countries like Poland, France, and that depends largely on the world situation, like the Trump president-elect, the Trump being Trump, and what he is actually, what he stands for, and also the Marine Le Pen in France. In Poland, also we have candidates all around the countries in European Union. So I believe this can affect them largely. The Brexit can influence them and tell them you'll be more safe because the UK will not give their 2% anymore because they were the main defenders of the European ground. So of the ground, the military forces were European. But I think that these countries, the non-EU countries, will not be much influenced by Brexit. I think they will not. They don't care about Brexit. We have our own opinion. So Balkans definitely. They're aware that they will never be like the United Kingdom, and they have their special relationship with Russia that is, historically looking at the historical background is very special, very interesting, strategic, not a priority to Russia, but very strategic. And we are actually, Western Balkans, Moldova, Belarus, we are the ground where Russia tries to confront directly with the West. So that is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. First of all, looking from perspectives from someone who comes from Serbia, there are a lot of debates whether Brexit is good or not in Serbia. But when we look at Brexit influence, rise of pro-Russian, I think in this part of Europe, not so much. Maybe in Brexit will determine the right parties arise. France, as she mentioned, but directly that Brexit can influence pro-Russian parties, I don't think so, because, for example, as my colleague from Sarajevo mentioned, we have history with pro-Russians parties, and actually one of our parliamentary parties is very pro-Russian. So, and I think personally, I think that the president of that party will be president candidate next year for our presidential election. So, but I don't think that Brexit has direct influence on rise of pro-Russian parties in Europe.
Thank you very much. Belgrade, if you have a question about Russia and Europe, go ahead and ask it. No, if that's not the case, any other questions here? Is there a way
okay, we have a question from Belgrade, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for a good debate. I have a question for both teams. We have a European neighborhood policy in European Union, and that means the European Union is controlling her external borders. Do you think that European neighborhood policy is sustainable, having in mind migrant crisis, pro-Russian influence, and having in mind what's happening with the uprising fire parties? Thank you.
Wonderful. Whether EMP is sustainable?
Yes. Well,
if you look, I think that the time perspective is very important, because if we look short time period, the crisis is here, and yes, it's very difficult time for the Europe, especially migrant crisis and the pro-Russian parties, of course. But I think that it will stabilize, and that I think that the Russia, we should, I mean, de facto and de jure, Russia is part of Europe in some way. So I don't think that we should consider their influence here on Balkans as completely like enemy. So I think we should strike to think to have some kind of cooperation with that parties, because in this time with all the crisis, I think the better consensus, the larger consensus, that is a better way. But yes, definitely, it's very unstable ground for now, especially in upcoming years. But I've heard some quote, I can't remember who said it, but we all want to believe that we are living in special times. So yes, we are living in special times, but so the past generations also lived in special times, and the future generations will live in special times. So we need to find a way to cooperate. And I think that we shouldn't look as a rise of, I'm left-oriented, but I don't believe that the rise of right-oriented and pro-Russian oriented parties are exclusively bad.
So I have to share the sentiment of my colleague from Belgrade. Yeah, I also think that everyone thinks we live in a special time. So I have to directly first answer to the question from Belgrade colleagues. I think that Balkans would not be influenced by any immigration crisis. We experienced it, and I think that you Serbians shouldn't be that, where's the camera? Yeah. You shouldn't be that worried about it, because immigrants, refugees, whatever you call them, they pass through the Balkans. They pass through the Balkans. They want into the European Union. We're not, maybe we are closer to the EU than we were ever, but we're not that close. So I think they don't want to be kept here. And as far as the sustainability, sustainability, we cannot be sustainable by ourselves, and we know it. Maybe we don't want to say it, but we know it. When there's as Prime Minister President of Montenegro said, Milo Đukanović, in the European Parliament, he said there's a blank space, and when there's no NATO or EU in these countries, there's a blank space, and when there's a blank space, that blank space is supposed to be filled out, and if not by EU or NATO, it's going to be filled out by Russia or radical Islam. So we have to decide which is better for us. So I think that EU has to be more assertive. We have to ask for help. We also have to be proactive. We cannot just sit there and wait for the help from the EU. We also have to be proactive, to ask for help, to ask for aid, to ask for more assertiveness from the EU, and to stand up to Russia if we see Russia as a bad guy there, even though it is not exclusively bad, as I agree with my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the audience here to give us their indication for Belgrade.
There is a question.
Thank you very much. And now for Sarajevo. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies. We go to our third and final round and final question. We will begin with the universities from Banska, Bystrica and Belgrade. For Banska, Bystrica, it's going to be Lukáš Lacko, and for Belgrade, Jelena Grisic. Okay, then it's gonna be Katarina Arsic. The question is very simple, but the answers will be interesting. Brexit, in the short-term perspective, has weakened both the European Union and the United Kingdom. As we are looking ahead at the European Union, will the European Union be stronger or will it be weaker? What do you believe?
So, hello to everybody. My name is Luke. Maybe some of you know me from the university-based Facebook page, as you could see my picture there. So, to the team of the Brexit, well, it's important to say that yes, we have quite a problem here in the Europe, because if we hadn't, the UK wouldn't leaving us today. So, the problem here it is with the UK leaving, important part of Europe is going away because of the economical power of the United Kingdom. As the 5th largest economy in the world, we are losing such an economic partner which was so important to the European Union. And of course, the biggest military force in the European Union, which was Britain. Therefore, Britain has given maybe some points to other member states who now have formed some opinions to change their minds, and maybe they we want to in the future leave the European Union. It's not a statement, but it's a possibility. So to arrange it so that the other countries will not leave the European Union, to don't make a step backwards, the European Union should better listen to the problems, to what bothers the people really, and not just like doing what they don't bother. So I think it's. I think yes, the European Union should do more for their inhabitants to create better options. Because if we don't do something with the situation in the future, in the worst way, there could be a dissolution maybe for the European Union, and some smaller regional integrations could form. With more stability, maybe, but with less importance in world politics. And in the better way, when the EU will be stronger and listen to the people of the European Union, we can arrange the better running for the European Union, and also maybe the UK will reconsider its option, and maybe will after that join back the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you. Now Belgrade.
Hello everybody, my name is Katerina Arsic, but I must say that the answer for this question depends of time about we are speaking. For a short time, I think that Brexit can make European Union weaker. It is evident that we have problems in European Union, but I must say that we have populism and Eurosceptic parties in the other European Union members, and they want referendum in their countries about exit European Union. But I think for a long time, if European Union find way to prevail this first shock, that European Union will be stronger. It is firstly economic organization, and benefits, economic benefits in membership of EU are too big, and I think that European Union will find a way to successfully overcome this problem. I must say that tendencies for exit European Union were in Britain since it becomes EU member since 1973, and I think that European Union will successfully prevail for a long time this problem.
Thank you very much. Can we have students here from Banska and from Belgrade? Wonderful. Do we have questions? Belgrade?
Novi Sad.
Novi Sad, wonderful. Go ahead.
My question is,
We did not hear the question, unfortunately. Would you kindly repeat it?
And bad sides of the European Union.
Can we ask you one more?
European Union.
We hear less and less. There's apparently some kind of a problem with the mic. Could you repeat that again? There is apparently some kind of magnetism, because when the microphone passes from Vlada, it's dead.
Okay, next question. Okay, never mind. Thank you.
No, it's wonderful. Now we hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Good. Okay. What do you think about good and bad side of European Union? What do you think? What is your perspective? Do you understand the question? Yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks
Good
so
side
much.
and bad
Appreciate
sides of
it.
European Union, okay. Well, let's see. Good sides, that may be easier. Good sides are, of course, single market, the movement of people and goods. You can easier come to contact with the people from other countries. There's also the thing that European countries are, after the World War II, were devastated, and they needed to unite to represent a major political factor in the world. And as a part of the European Union, you are part of a community that has some influence on the things that happen in the world, and the decisions that are made in the world. Also, the good thing is the rise of the economic standard and the standardization of all those things that the EU, that are EU values, like human rights and so on. On the bad side, I think, let's see, it's probably because when you enter the EU, you give a part of your sovereignty, and you are dependent on the decisions that are made in other countries. If you're a smaller country, you don't have that much influence as are some other countries, for example, Germany or France have, and you can't really, unless you come into some agreement and alliance with other smaller countries, be a big and important factor. And I think that will be probably the main bad side. Thank you.
Okay, so to look at the good side of the European Union, so what is the advantage of European Union? To look at this project, why it started, to prevent repeating the war in Europe, to start the cooperation between Germany and France after the Second World War, after the destroyed Europe. It started as such small project of 6 countries, started with the cooperation and with coal and also and steel, coal and steel cooperation, so partially integration. And now, if you look at the European Union nowadays, it's the complex integration of 27, okay, let's call it 87 countries, okay? So it's really big project. We can cooperate in many areas. As you said, there is a single market, there is the monetary union, and so on and so on. This is supranational project, and this is also bad side of the European Union for many states. Because if you want to be a part of a big project, you have to give up a part of your maybe national interest, okay? Because then, if you enter the European Union, you act not just as a Slovakia, as one state, okay? You act as a member of European Union, as one unit. So you give up such part of your power, of your national interest, in order to gain something more important for us. So for me, it's a pleasure to be a part of European Union, and I think there are more advantages than disadvantages. I don't understand Britain. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a question here.
Okay,
Hello, my name is
Belgrade has
Teresa.
a question. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
So my name is Teresa, and I want to ask, in your opinion, what was the main reason for Brexit? Was it just some failure of European Union as a project, of just the British people underestimated the real aftermath on the Brexit and therefore voted for it? Thank you.
So first of all, what was the reason of Brexit? Okay, look at Great Britain as a member of the European Union. 1973, it started to be the member of the European Union. Look at the many opt-outs, okay, to be part. Do they use euro? Do they use euro? No. Okay, this is the first thing. They are a member of European Union, but they have so many opt-outs that I'm really wondering if it's like, do they want to be member of European Union, or did they want to be the member of the European Union? It's clear, you know, they are the member of EFTA, okay? They are the head of the Commonwealth. They have a common culture with the United States. So for me, it was not like, it was not something which I didn't expect. It was something I was thinking about for many years. And I think that mostly it was like bad decision, not bad decision, but it was decision of people. I read one article in which the inhabitant of Great Britain said that, like, yes, I voted for Brexit, but really, did it happen? Okay. So mostly inhabitants of Great Britain were really surprised that, yes, we got it. I don't think that they really wanted it. They were like a kid. If mother tells them, okay, don't touch this. Why not? Okay. And this was for me, to try if it will pass or not. Bad choice.
Thank you. Well, I think that if you were asked to ask one country that could leave the EU a couple of years ago or whenever, you would say United Kingdom, because they were always trying to get the good sides of the EU, like single market, and always trying to avoid some, let's say, bad sides, for example, to allow other people from other countries to enter to take their jobs, or to give part of their sovereignty to the EU to make decisions instead of them. They didn't want the European army and that kind of integration, because they already gave a lot of, but they already spent a lot of budget on the NATO and so forth. So the main reasons are that there always was a kind of sentiment in the Great Britain about a lot of bad sides that the EU has bring to them, and common people from the lower classes have felt that bad sides more than those from upper classes, and those from upper classes always only saw the good sides, and they didn't really see that the common man doesn't see those beneficiary sides from the EU, and they underestimated that they could choose to exit the EU, and because of that, this has happened, but the Brexit process hasn't even started, and it is questioned how it will look. And I think that many of them will probably be sorry about the decision maybe in the following years.
Thank you very much. Belgrade, you had a question. Hello?
Okay, thank you. May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you think that Brexit is a bigger chance for deeper and stronger cooperation between the countries, considering the fact that Great Britain, for example, excluded itself from economic and monetary union, from cohesion policies, and other stuff like that? Thank you.
Well, I suppose that a lot of European countries, first of all Germany and France, think that they can now have bigger integration and bigger interdependence between them and stronger EU with Britain leaving. But I'm not so sure that this Brexit won't have a domino effect and that other countries will follow their example in at least trying to put forward a referendum if the results of the elections in the following year if the elections ended that way, that it could be possible for that. Or, in other words, if right-wing parties won in some of these countries. And I suppose that if that doesn't happen and let's say system parties or establishment parties prevail, we could have in the long run stronger EU, but in the following years it will have a lot of problems. Thank you.
So first of all, I would like to point out that Brexit is a really sad story. It's a sad outcome of this whole story. However, it does not, it's not a mortal blow for European Union. It does not undermine the logic of European integration and none of its goals, as losing Great Britain, as losing Germany or France would be. Okay, for me, I think that there will be more cooperation between the countries which are the members of the European Union. First of all, to show Britain that they can exist without it, and secondly, because it was planned. Okay, there is a fiscal union plans to be prepared, and so on. And as we can see, as the years were passing, the integration was deepening. Okay, it was deepening. So I think it will just continue without the Brexit, without Britain, or with Britain. There is not a difference. Okay, and I don't think that it will influence another countries to leave the European Union, because I don't know who said it, but that if other countries will see such a harm it's caused on the policy of Great Britain, they will think twice, okay, whether to try to leave or not.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the teams from Belgrade and Banska Bystrica for this round. Please show us your cards for Belgrade. Proceed. Show us your cards for Banska Bystrica. I would say that it's identical, so thank you very much. I'd like to call to the podium the teams from Sarajevo, Chisinau, and Podgorica. From Sarajevo, it's going to be Janeta Begic. From Podgorica, Miloš Perović. From Chisinau, it's going to be Anastasia Balacan. Is there anybody on the teams who was not yet answering any question? Two of them? Okay, you were already here, yes? Would you kindly give the place to those two ladies because they won't be speaking? One of them, please. Perfect, wonderful. And the other one will come to answer the follow-up question, yes? In that instance, everybody would be on the teams, yes? From other teams? No. Okay. Who wants to begin?
We believe or we think that
Because otherwise nobody pays attention.
Okay. We think that Brexit will influence, weaken both on the European Union or on the Great Britain, especially when we talk more consequences will get Great Britain. Why? At first, the European Union is the organization with more than 26 countries, and they have to now to resolve problem and allocate their resources on economy, politics, and other fields in different way, because
the Great Britain was the fifth most powerful country of world and first military country in Europe, and it is not and it is problem for European Union. But on the other hand, Great Britain is from some statements will be in next 5 or 10 years looks different. In first case, because of problems of Scotland, Ireland, and North Ireland, but Britain in the first case, when the European Union was established, was not the founding states. They joined the European Union 20 years later, approximately 20 years later. So European Union exists without Britain that period and was successful. Also, Great Britain wasn't on the current of euro, and that's are the main issue, the main marks that can say that the European Union can live without Great Britain. Also, European Union has the problem to reorganize the organization. The main states like Germany or France have to allocate more sources now than they were before. Also, that supranational indebtedness that is the indebtedness in Europe now have to be stronger and have to base, I think, on the purpose of fear of terrorism, and they have to be together to beat that.
Hello, me again, Jenica. Okay, so the question was how Brexit will actually influence the European Union. Is it going to strengthen it or weaken it in the future? So first we have to think if what's going to happen with this Brexit thing. It's still not finalized. Still, this constitutional court in the UK has to vote on what is going to happen. We have this Article 50 that is saying that United Kingdom will have 2 years to actually finalize and see how these obligations that they had towards European Union will actually follow in the future. So why the United Kingdom actually left the European Union? For some reasons, it was fear of maybe immigrants. It was also impacting their economics, as they are actually saying. But if we are looking at the public policies in the United Kingdom, that they were blaming the European Union on that, it was actually their own fault. They were fearing immigrants. Immigrants were actually paying higher taxes than they were consuming in the public policies. But this is not really that important right now. So what is the next for the European Union? I would like to focus on two things. First, the thing is security and defense. So we have European Union that's totally reliant on the NATO for its security. It's mainly economic organization. It's supranational, but it's economic, and it's actually getting military assistance mostly from the United States and the countries who are fulfilling the GDP. It was UK, but now we're not sure what's going to happen. So there are some views that European Union, if it's actually wants a future of a strong institution as it was throughout the years, it should actually move its focus from the other issues towards more of defense and security, and maybe even recall the talks about the security that they were actually talking a long time ago, but they didn't figure out anything. Also, European Union has to figure out how they will deal with the United Kingdom. They are walking the soft line with the United Kingdom. If they are too harsh, they might actually piss off, sorry, pardon my English, piss off some other countries within the European Union, like Hungary, Poland, to actually negative view of the European Union and maybe follow the Britain's example, which might further weaken the European Union. But if they are too soft, we have, again, this, maybe we'll have some other exit of the country, because if they're soft with UK, if they allow them this European economic area, which some scientists are saying that UK will actually go in that way. European economic area is basically that they remain with this free trade, but no other policies, or even something like European economic area minus, which would actually restrict them, not restrict them, but leave them alone from these immigrant issues. Okay, so thank you. But the thing is this, defense and the NATO will actually be crucial, what's going to happen with the United States. And my question to you all is how far the European Union will actually go to defend its values that it has been based on throughout the history. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So, according to our research, I think each of us should realize is that actually in 1 year a lot of things will changes, and a lot of things will appear on the political background in the modern world. Brexit, of course, will affect both European Union and Great Britain on a long-term basis in fields like economy, social, political relationships, and others. Firstly, if we refer to trade relations, a thing to consider about is the official statistic data, which shows that the European Union is being a destination for about half of British goods exporting agents. Additional costs will be charged in case of non-conformation with European Union regulations. Also, the negotiation agreement between Britain and the European Union that should be signed in the following 2 years may determine exporters to lose their interest in their trade in Great Britain. On the other hand, non-European countries can find collaboration with Great Britain as being advantageous and more facile. Secondly, considering the migration factor as a determining factor for Great Britain in leaving the European Union, we should mention that the migrating mass from European countries contributed significantly to the public finances budget, and they brought more profit than losses. From political point of view, we can assume that Brexit will influence the European Parliament composition and ideological views. So nearly 60% of UK members opt for right-centered and Eurosceptic groups. The left side will be strengthened, things that will lead to a more social democratic union without constant Britain opposition. We can't afford ourselves to talk about a stronger or a weaker Europe at the moment, but certainly we can discuss about a different Europe, a new one. In this course of actions, we think that Germany will be favored instead of Great Britain, and the Eurozone integration will become more intense. Also, a great disadvantage about Brexit is that a strong military force was lost, and also the decrease in Great Britain's influence on the world stage course of action happened. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may join your teams, and we are asking those from your teams who have not yet been answering the question to come to the podium to answer the follow-up questions. It's your decision. Do we have, yes, I know. Do we have questions in the audiences abroad? Hello? Anybody wants to ask a question from Chisinau?
No.
My name is Yulia Hulinok, and my question: what will be the consequence of United Kingdom to exit from European Union for the UK and British people?
Okay. Well, the question is very similar to the one that we have been answering. Anybody wants to give it a quick shot? Consequences for the UK, for the British people of Brexit.
Oh, okay, for the British people. So a quick shot. Okay, so the British people will probably, be repentful, if that might be the case, the right word. They already are. They already are second guessing their decision to vote for exit, for Brexit. So they are now thinking maybe they should have voted Remain, because the campaign that UKIP has been leading, and Nigel Farage as UKIP leader, has been a dirty campaign filled out with lies, and these lies have been so obvious, but the people still haven't been aware of it in full terms. And later, recently, Nigel Farage said himself that some of the healthcare issues that they had, that the economic problems they were, that the EU owed to them, the financial matters, that they were a lie. And he would basically say, I didn't say that. That didn't come out of my mouth. So that was a dirty campaign, and people are becoming aware of it right now. And even though UKIP exists for some 30 years, and it says United Kingdom Independence Party. This is nothing new. This is a party that's been existing for 30 years, and for 30 years they have been lobbying for exit, for Brexit. This is nothing surprising. They even have members of the parliament. They're so supported for 30 years that they have members in the European Parliament that still come there and get paid for just existing and telling lies. So I think that people will definitely feel the consequences, and that they will be, hopefully the Supreme Court right now will try to overturn the decision. So the Supreme Court, Gina Miller is a lawyer that just, it came to her mind, it came to her mind that the parliamentary-backed exit is only possible, not only for the people, by the people votes, but also Parliament has to back up that. So the Supreme Court will vote on that, so we still don't know if the Brexit will start in March officially or not. Thank you.
So I will start with my opinion that I think that Great Britain will have more bad points than good ones. I will start with focusing on trade relations. According with some international trade relations statistics, we know that half of products and goods exported from Great Britain are to European Union. So exporters may face additional costs according with EU regulations if they were outside of the single market. Also, exporters, knowing that a country leaving EU have 2 years to sign an agreement, we can face with the risk that exporters and investors may leave Great Britain. Also, I can say that one advantage for them can be a possibility to have good relations with non-EU countries. So for them it will be easier to make trade relations with Great Britain without its European bureaucracy and regulations in an easier way. Let's say like this.
Well, when we talk about consequences for British people, we can look back for the first survey, which was in Great Britain after the referendum, and the most of young people shows that they voted to stay in European Union. We can see that the young people see all the goods from the European Union, and on the other hand, people who voted to exit, they take this decision, but the consequences will be, in my opinion, negative, because even if Great Britain was a huge contributor to European Union, also it has great prosperity just being a part of European Union. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One more question.
Hello, my name is Lucy, and this is my question for you. Is Britain, as a country outside of European Union, still responsible for extreme debt of Greece and Italy in the case of their bankruptcy? Thank you. Yes, in the case of their bankruptcy. Thank you.
Who wants to be the first? Who wants to be the millionaire?
I will. Okay, so I think that they have, by this decision to exit, they have decided to just say, we don't care about our mistakes. We want to leave our mistakes in the EU. What we did in the EU, we want it to stay in the EU. The bad things. So also probably they being one of the causes for the bankruptcy for the in Greece and in Italy. And I think that they have done this. They have done this consciously, at least. And I think that they will definitely not be responsible. That they will decline to be responsible for any intentions of European Union to make them pay for their mistakes, even for debt. I think they will not feel responsible at all. Yeah, thanks. I'm Sarajevo.
Well, I share opinion with my colleague from Sarajevo that United Kingdom will decline all the responsibility for other countries in European Union, as you said, for example, bankruptcy in Italy and Greece.
I have also this opinion because no one will say that he had a mistake. So Great Britain won't say that yes, it was our fault of their bankruptcy. So they did it consciously. So I think there is no connection between these two situations.
Thank you very much, ladies. May I ask the audience here in Banska to give us green and red. First on Sarajevo. Thank you very much. That's very clear. Second on Podgorica. It also seems to be clear. And on Chisinau. Today you are very kind. Thank you very much. Thank you to the teams. And I'd like to start the final segment of our debate and call to the podium the teams from Bratislava and Novi Sad. From Bratislava, it's going to be Monika Michalcová. Have you already been to the stage? Okay, perfect. And from Novi Sad, it's going to be Teodora Čurčić. You have been, yeah? Okay, so then let's have somebody who was not here. Nikola Jekic, was he here? Were you already on the stage? Please come and join us. Wonderful. So we will begin with Bratislava. I ask you, I beg your pardon, give some respect to the responses. We are almost close. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Monika Michalcová from Comenius University. The statement of our group is that that we have to notice that the Article 50 is not activated yet. That's a crucial point because there is a long way until it will be activated. It can be maybe blocked by Great Britain Parliament, or also, well, it's such a long way, let's say. The next point is that if the Great Britain really left us, let's say, it will always stay an important actor. It will be still influential, but it will be alone. There will be always 20 of us in the Union, but Great Britain will be alone. During the membership of Great Britain in the Union, it always had some advantages, such as exceptions. It wasn't in a Schengen, Eurozone. It was always isolated or separated. So we can say that it is maybe natural for Great Britain to be alone, but that's also the reason why we think that the main loss will be on the side of Great Britain, not on the side of European Union. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'll get straight to the point. Well, if will European Union be stronger or weaker in the following years? Well, first about the Brexit, I think that nobody actually wants Brexit. Britain is just stalling. Article 50 had to be triggered in the Parliament, but Parliament don't want to trigger it, and businessmen around the UK actually don't want the Brexit, and the people don't want the Brexit, but they're all saying that they have to respect democracy, so they are stalling right now. And the European Union also, they don't want to negotiate without Article 50 triggered, so we have status quo right now, and that status quo will last in the following years. And what the previous colleagues mentioned, the Greek crisis problem, that's only one more factor that says that this will not be a quick and happy divorce, if there will be divorce even. And Europe, that's not only Europe's problem. There are many problems like financial and Greek crisis, but also the next year will be a breaking point in the Europe's history, and we have a lot of elections next year, France elections, German elections, Netherlands elections, and in Germany probably Angela Merkel wins, so it's pro-EU, but in the France, François Fillon will probably win. But I will not underestimate Marine Le Pen. We already underestimate Brexit, Trump, and look where we are now. So if François Fillon wins, which I hope so, then we will. He is more like a De Gaulle type of politician, and he will probably demand some kind of. He will probably demand that some part of sovereignty from the Brussels came back to Paris. He is he thinks about the European Union like there should be a nation and a union. We have problem with Turkey also. Turkey is threatening to release the millions of refugees each day if we do not give them what we actually can give them. But no matter of that all, I think that European Union will prevail because it's a good project, it's a peace project, it's an economical project, and lots of countries have a great beneficials from it, but we're going to have a very bumpy ride in the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please join your teams and send us other members of your teams. Do we have questions at our universities? Who is with us? Chisinau is with us, but there's probably, is there a question in Chisinau?
No. It's no questions. No.
No?
We don't speak.
Okay, anybody else? Do we have questions here? Would you please come to the podium? You also, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Dominika Kashakova, and I have just one brief question. In your opinion, should the United Kingdom continue their participation in European programs such as the Erasmus exchange in the period of their departure? Thank you.
After Brexit, whether the UK should, after Brexit, continue to participate in some of the European programs like Erasmus, etc.
Okay. So I think that for students especially, it's really important to have such programs, and it doesn't involve just the students. It also contains like things as the free movements of people. I also think that the United Kingdom mentioned something about the abolishment of free movements, I think, and it will make the situation much complicated, I think. Also for people who work there, who study there, who have own business there. It also rely on the other European states, because, for example, like Poland has many people there and citizens, and I think that it's really important to have this kind of connections still and after the Brexit, like the post-Brexit period.
Well, I think that connection between the countries in the Europe can't just stop just like that. I don't think the British people think Brexit. I think that they react pretty much rushly. They didn't think about what's going to happen later. And I think that a whole European Union can't just fall apart just like that. That connection is just it's really important because countries are depend from each other. People, as my colleagues say, people work in countries, and I think that that connection must stay. And it's not just a question about politics when it comes to Brexit. It's I think that the economy is most important thing in that.
Thank you. Now we have a question here.
Hello, so my name is Lucas, and I would like to know your opinion on my question or answer. What do you think about disinformation problem in modern society? Sorry, and how should we protect ourselves against disinformation? And I think there should be some lessons to teach us about this topic. Yeah. Yeah. In general. Yeah, thank you.
Well, about the propaganda, I think that is going to be the biggest problem in Europe. Why? Well, the media are start using lies pretty without any consequences, and that's what do the right-wing parties. And I think that was the problem about Brexit. I think that the reason for Brexit is actually the media propaganda, and people didn't think. I think that the propaganda it was there to tell people what they want to hear. They talk about healthcare, and people are actually believed in that. And as we see in the end, the Nigel Farage said that that was the promise that he can't keep. Actually, he was lying. And unfortunately, it's not only in Britain. In our country are the same problem, because media is using many of lies, and it's not consequences for that. No one is responsible for that. Lies are using in the media propaganda and in political propaganda. And I think that that could be very bad for elections in the next year.
Yeah, okay, so I think that the things are when we have like some states has some propaganda or some kind of problem, the things are spread through internet and other social media, and there are many lies, I think, also, as my colleague said. And I think that those states who has this problem, they should to solve them in the state and not to spread them through other countries and to make them elaborate through other governments, perhaps. Do the own stuffs and keep eyes on own stuff also in government. Yeah, and it will be much easier, I think, for each state. Yeah.
Thank you. More questions? Okay. Would you please come here, because this is too short?
Good day. My name is Alexandra, and my following question is concerned the European integration project. So how do you think, will the European Union strengthen itself and continue what is planned, taking under consideration the fact of the British exit?
Within the context of Brexit, will the EU continue to expand or not? Bratislava.
Okay. Like extend also without Britannia, I understand it correctly? Yeah. Okay. So I think that we couldn't be for 100% sure what these all changes will bring. Like if the Europe will be stronger or will be weakened by this situation, like Brexit. Because, you know, there are also in European Union and in Europe other states who are, which are also important for EU, and the Britain is, yeah, it's one of the former state, if you think of that. With another former states, they established European Union, but European Union is also able to take care of herself, if I can say it, also without Britain, I think. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I will agree with this. I think that if, for example, if France leave the European Union, I think that that would be a bigger problem than Brexit. As I say, I don't think that European Union can fall apart just like that, just because of United Kingdom. I think that European Union is in crisis, but I don't think that it's going to fall apart. I just think that maybe in the future it's not going to look like it looks now. It maybe is going to change a little bit, but I think that European Union can live without United Kingdom.
Thank you very much. Before I give the floor to the last question from the audience here in Banska, Bystrica, I wanted to ask whether we have any questions from our partner universities. The last opportunity, last call. No, we are not hearing anything, so go ahead.
Thank you. Good day. My name is Andrew. I'm in the first year and I'm studying international relations. So, as you know, since the beginning of British pre-negotiations, we have been acquainted two new possible outcomes, soft and hard Brexit. But lately, news have been reporting a new possibility, therefore, custom trade. Do you think that one of those outcomes can be a threat to European Union? Thank you.
Thinking. Should I answer the question?
No. Okay, so about the trade market, and also, yeah, those steps. Yeah, I think that the market economy will persist like for some period, for 2 years, at least the Treaty of Lisbon will be approved. So we have no reason to be afraid of those stuffs like nowadays, but we can talk about it perhaps in the period of 2 years. And the Britain try to continue, or will try to continue with the also cooperation of post-Brexit, and yeah, it can cause some violation also in the trade market, but not in so big amount as we think, perhaps. Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good question because European Union is still recovering from economic crisis. And as I said, I don't think that the politics in the Europe is the most important thing. I think that economy is the most important thing. And beyond Brexit and right-wing parties who wants today countries leave the European Union, I think that countries can isolate themselves, and I think that they just have to be connected because of the economy. I think that they have to think in that way because it's not just a foreign policy, it's about eternal economy.
Thank you very much. For the last time today, I'm turning to the audience in Banska, Bystrica to show us green and red. First on Bratislava. It's all green, thank you very much. And on Novi Sad. It looks to me green. Thank you very much. This concludes today's debate. It has been a while since we started it. I wanted to thank you for your patience, for staying with us, for everybody who stayed with us until this moment. And I think that we ought to give a round of applause to the teams. They have been preparing well. They have been performing wonderfully. We are glad that we were able to assemble them in one place. We hope to continue in the spring in the debate. In the spring, the debate will take place in Belgrade. All the teams will travel to Belgrade, and we are looking forward to continuing debating foreign policy and other international issues of interest in the spring. So once again, thank you for the teams. I think that we ought to give them a round of applause, please. Hey! I'd like to also thank the audiences. You have been wonderful. Those of you who stayed with us until this moment, we thank you very much for staying with us. I'd like to thank the audience here in Banska Bystrica. You've been great today. And of course, I'd like to thank the university here in Banska Bystrica for hosting us, for making this event possible, and of course, for being patient with us for these almost 3 hours. I'd like to thank the university coordinators who have worked with us from Belgrade, Chisinau, Sarajevo, Podgorica, Novi Sad, Bratislava, and Banska Bystrica. Thank you very much to university coordinators who have worked with the students, prepared you for this time. And I'd like to thank our partners, Center for Euro-Atlantic Studies in Belgrade, with whom we are organizing this event. And of course, I'm thankful very much for the National Endowment for Democracy for continuing to support this project. With that, I'd like to thank you and see you soon in the spring. This concludes today's event. Thank you very much.